Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where Tennille and I take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Sean.
I'm Tennille.
And today we are watching Farewell to Space Battleship Yamato, subtitle. I don't remember what the subtitle is, but there is a
subtitle is Warriors of Love.
Okay.
Or Soldiers of Love, I think, is how it was translated in the dub we watched. This is a part 2, essentially, because
it's a sequel.
Yeah, it's a sequel to Space Battleship Yamato, which we watched last year for Animation Pilgrimage, which was actually like some number of weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't know. But Space Battleship Yamato was a compilation of an entire series, like anime series, so it was televised and then chopped into pieces and made into a 2-hour film. This was fully made for theaters and was 2.5 hours long.
For more background, Sean and I have not watched the show. We have only watched these 2 movies. So if you would like our thoughts on the first movie, be sure to go back into the playlist and look at Animation Pilgrimage from 1977 to see our thoughts there.
Spoilers, we thought it was good.
Yeah. Other than the fact that it was a compilation of TV episodes.
Well, this movie made up for that because it wasn't just Cliff Notes. It was a movie, first and foremost, made for movie length. And
movie length, you say. This was 2.5 hours long. Jeez.
It was incredibly long.
Holy shit.
But I would say that I knew who most of the characters were by the end.
Yeah, by the end. Anyway,
I will say that this movie definitely delivered. It was very good. I really enjoyed it.
It was good. I'll get more into my thoughts after we do the synopsis. And I do want to kind of recontextualize the length of this film. You know, a 2.5 hour movie isn't much. Like, it's not really a big deal nowadays, but like, where we're at in Animation Pilgrimage, that's a long movie.
Especially animated?
Yeah.
Most films we've been watching currently are 1:15, and they barely hit that mark.
Yeah.
So this is twice as long as any other animated film we've been watching.
Oh, I mean, you know, one of the more recent films we watched, Ringing Bell, was only like 45 minutes long. You know, so this was... this was more than double that time.
Yeah. It was definitely one of those movies where we actually stopped, took a break in the middle, got some food, and then came back to the movie.
Yeah.
Because it was very long.
And I will say that filmmaking's different now than it was in the 70s. In the 70s, there's a slower pace to things. Particularly in animation, because there's kind of like this idea that like you don't edit an animated film, which is kind of true in some regards, but you know, we can kind of talk about that later. And so like it feels like 2.5 hours. It's not like a modern blockbuster today where you get a 2.5 hour, 3 hour movie and you're like, oh wow, 3 hours have gone by? I didn't even notice because the film is so fast-paced.
There was so much cool stuff happening.
Right.
And this one is more of like, no, it takes its time.
Yeah, and that's not a good or a bad thing. It's just that's how it is. So anyway, let's get into that plot synopsis.
Oh boy, is it a plot synopsis.
Yes.
All right, so time has passed. I didn't actually look up how much time it has been.
I think it's been 1 or 2 years.
1 or 2 years? I was assuming it was more like 5 years or something.
Well, because I thought that the first movie took place in 200.
Okay.
And then this one took place in like
2201.
2201 or 2202.
Either way, a couple of years have passed. Humanity's back on the surface. They're thriving again. They're expanding out across the universe.
Earth is green once more.
Yes, everything is great. We see various characters from the Yamato going about their lives in other ways. Like Kodai, the main character, is now just part of, like, the captain of some shipping ship that brings materials back to Earth. And
right, from, like, different planets in the solar system.
His girlfriend, Yuki, works for the space agency in some way. And life is good, and they're going to get married in, like, 3 days or something.
Life is good, but the characters are all obviously haunted and, like, reminiscing about their days on the Yamato.
They're like, this is fine, but, like, I don't feel like I'm living anymore.
Right.
It's like, we were on a life and death situation to save all of humanity, and we did that, and that's great.
And now where do we go from here?
Yeah, what do we do with our lives at this point? And they're all feeling really lukewarm about life. Well, wouldn't you know it, some big, evil, bad comet planet.
It is a planet and a comet. Don't question it.
They're making up their own space magic here, but a planet-sized comet.
Space.
It's zipping through space, and it's on a crash course with Earth, and there's an evil empire that lives on this planet, and they just destroy planets and take them over or whatever as they go through.
Right.
So the crew of the Yamato is like, haha, we can do this. And their commander's like, you're all decommissioned. The Yamato's old. We got new ships that are more powerful, and they'll take care of it. You guys, you're going to the Mars thing, and you're going to the moon. And they're like, oh,
mutiny!
I guess we're mutinizing. We're just going to go take the ship and go deal with it anyways. And they do so, and their commander's like, good, they did the thing I wanted them to do. Because, like, I believe in them. So everybody's back, even, like, the best friend who was the pilot, and he was feeling like, I don't know, dude, we should just follow orders. We had our part. We don't need to do this again. But, like, everyone is back. All the random crew members and everything. The doctor, Yuki, random guy with no eyebrows. The pilots that were stationed on the moon base that fly the fighter jets. They're all coming back, and they're like, ha-ha, we're defying orders.
We got the gang back together.
Yeah, let's go save the day.
I really want to know if this is the first movie to do a lot of these tropes, because, like, I've seen this exact movie a million times, you know?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know.
It plays all of it so straight that it's like...
I can't believe that it's the first, but, like...
It definitely plays into all of these, like, let's get the gang back together. We'll be just as good as we once were. And they are.
Yeah.
like it's like they never left the Yamato, you know?
Getting the band back together.
Right.
Anyways, they head out into space, and they get a distress signal, and it turns out that some space Earth fleet was attacked and completely destroyed by the bad guys. And the only person left alive is a random old guy captain. So they're like, hey, our old guy captain died last time, so you come in and be the captain now. So they just get a new old guy.
Yeah, they just get a new old captain. He's like, no!
I should go down with my ship. I'm going to be disgraced. They're like, whatever, come with me.
They're like, okay, Grandpa, come
fine.
on. Time for your medicine. Please
Fine.
just come be our captain.
I'll sit in the captain's chair and look grumpy and stuff, which is...
what he does.
That's what he does. And then they get a different distress signal from some random blonde chick being held in a planet by bad guys. Okay, this artist has one girl he can draw, and it's blonde girl with the exact same proportions every single time.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, fine, you have a thing, but, like, can you make a variation at all? No. Because, like, Teresa and Teresa or whatever from the last movie, and Yuki, and now this girl who is...
They all look exactly
they all look
same.
identical.
Yeah.
Anyways, They do a bunch of fights against the new bad guys. These bad guys are green, by the way, as compared to the blue bad guys from the previous movie.
Mm-hmm. Although, speaking of the bad guys from the previous movie...
We'll get to that in a little bit.
All right,
Anyways, they blow up a bunch of bad guys and, like, they're like, yeah, we're killing people. It's great. Even though last time we learned a lesson about how war was bad and, like, if we had just worked together, it would have been fine and stuff.
Revenge is a cycle, and... really, are we any better from the people we destroyed? Because now we get to create the history, and they were just as desperate as we were, and would they be the good guys had they won?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. None of that philosophy considered
None of
now.
that comes back during this movie. It's a celebration. We're running around. We're being the good guys, destroying stuff.
Beating the bad guys.
Beating the bad guys. Being the good guys.
Oh, being the good guys,
Yes.
beating up the bad guys.
Yes. There's like a new group of like ground troops that are in the crew that were secretly sent by their commander. So we got like a new guy that's kind of like a big like, yeah, I'm here to beat stuff up.
I know karate.
He's not a rival. I thought he was going to be a rival at first, but he's not. He's
just a big cool dude.
Yeah. He shoots guns and blows up tanks. They save the blonde girl and she's like, thank you. I'm the last of my kind. Also, again. Also, if you touch me, I'll explode because I'm made of antimatter and you're made of matter. So we'll just like explode everything. Don't touch me. Also, here's a hint as to what you need to do to beat the bad guys. Goodbye. That's it. Okay. Moving on.
All right.
So they get back out and they're like, all right, continue on towards the evil comet. And the bad guys are like, hey, Dressler. From the first movie, the commander of the bad guys from the first movie. You survived somehow.
Sure.
Okay. So he's back. And so he gets a new ship and he comes and he starts attacking the Yamato. And the Yamato's like, oh, crap. This is just like Dressler. Ah! And so they have a big old scrap down and people are dying left and right. But don't worry, it's all just random crew members and stuff. Doesn't matter. And then they finally get to like a one-on-one pistol shootout of Dressler and Kodai, the main character. And Yuki gets shot.
Well, they introduced this prince character.
He's not a prince. He's just a random commander of the bad guys there to watch Dressler, make sure he does his job.
I guess. But he's like some official guy. Like, they introduce him, and he's just there to watch Dressler. And then he's like, I guess, not happy with how Dressler's doing things. And so, like,
it's because Dressler at the end is like, you've defeated me. A noble sacrifice. I'll tell you how to beat the bad guys. And so the other guy's like, no, right. You can't spill our secrets. So he tries to shoot Kodai, and Yuki jumps in the way, and she gets wounded in a very terrible way. And Dressler's like, well, that kind of sucks. Anyways, good luck. Have fun. I'm just going to jump out the...
space window.
The airlock, that's the term.
Uh-huh.
And so he floats through space and it's like, okay, but did Yuki die?
Right.
We're focusing on Dressler's death more than Yuki. Well, okay, it turns out she's not dead, but she is very badly wounded.
Uh-huh.
And while they were fighting Dressler, the bad guy comet has passed them and is almost to Earth. And they're like, well, crap, we need to go deal with that. But don't worry, the Space Forces with their new big ships, the Andromeda and all these other ones, are like, we got this. And they explode all the enemy forces. And then the comet's like, yeah, I got this big comet force field thing, and you can't get past this. And it destroys everything. Literally all of Earth's ships are gone, except for the Yamato. And so the Yamato does their special warp tactic that they've been using more and more throughout this whole movie.
Uh-huh.
Which, in the first movie, they're like, this is very dangerous, and if we do it wrong, then all of space-time will be destroyed or something.
And they do it like five or six times.
In this movie, and they're like, it's fine. And Yamato gets in the way, and they're like, we'll stop you, and... with the antimatter girl and Dressler, they gave us hints as to where we're supposed to shoot, and they do, and they destroy the evil swirling comet thing, and underneath is like a giant-ass city only on the top half of a comet. Planet thing. It looks hilarious, and they're like, you got through our first line of defense. Now we got a second shieldy thing that spins and like...
shoots missiles and stuff,
and the missiles shoot, and Yamato is absolutely wrecked, and Yuki actually dies.
Yeah.
Yuki dies. And the doctor dies.
Yeah, like not long after then the doctor dies.
And the commander of the engine room dies. Like, major characters that have names that we don't know. But like
we don't know.
People that like watch the show were probably big fans of these characters and they're dying.
Yeah.
Not just like, oh, they're mortally wounded. No, they're dead. They're just straight up dead now. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, shit, we need to like hide underneath the planet and stuff. And they're still shooting at us. All right, we need to launch a foray to get in there and like destroy their mechanisms. So like the guy with no eyebrows that wears blue all the time and Kodai, the main character, and like the pilot characters go in along with like the new army guy. And like both pilot characters die. They get exploded.
They get shot out of space and crash land on the planet in a huge fireball of explosions.
Oh my god. And then they get into the base and they're like it's a whole desperate thing, and they finally get into the thing, and the eyebrow...
It's the last... it's Yamato's last stand.
Yeah, it's like... I mean, the name of the movie was Farewell to Space Battleship Yamato. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you were expecting. They get in there, and the army guy and the no eyebrows man...
This is not a coherent synopsis.
I don't know.
Because we don't know the characters' names.
It's true, but they're like, Kodai, go back to the ship. We've got this. And they blow themselves up and blow up the defense mechanism, which means the spinning turret thing no longer works. And Kodai gets back to the ship, and they blow the...
Wait. He's like, how many of us are left? And it's like...
There's 18 of us.
There's 18 of us left.
18!
There was like hundreds of people on this.
At least 300 or more on the ship. Originally.
Yeah.
There's 18 people left on the ship. And they blow the city to Kingdom Come. And then a giant black evil spaceship emerges. They're like, haha, we have another ship.
This is our final form.
And then they blow up the moon.
Yeah.
They blow up the moon. And they're like, haha, you'll never defeat us. And then they leave. They just leave. They're like, we'll be back. And Kodai's like, well, this isn't good. Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. Abandon ship.
Yeah.
And so the only people left are the best friend pilot who didn't want to come along in the first place. And like 16 or 17 other random crew members. A couple of the people were like on the main... The main deck, but like I don't know who these people are.
Right, but mainly out of our like main characters, you have Kodai and our main character, and then the best friend.
Yeah, and so
everybody else is dead, other than a few nameless characters that we don't know.
Essentially,
yeah.
So the best friend and everybody else abandoned ship.
Kodai gives them a big speech about how like it's gonna be hard. Going on living, doing all this, but you have to live because it's like the
That's what space freedom means or something.
Yeah, it's oh man, it's a good speech, but I don't remember any of it.
And then he carries Yuki up to like the commander's chair. Because the old captain guy also dies, because of course he does.
Yeah.
He carries her and sets her next to him, and then he takes full control of the ship by itself. And then Antimatter Girl's like, hey, want to go blow them up? Because if we touch, we can do that. It's like, I'll go on ahead. And then he has like a super dramatic speech about like, man, I guess we never got to get married, Yuki. But this will be our marriage in the afterlife, and we'll live forever or something. And it's like, God, I barely know these characters, and I'm legitimately crying here. It's very heart-wrenching, and I'm sure for people that watched the show, this was devastating.
This is heartbreaking.
And the movie ends with him flying off into, like, the nothingness of space, presumably to wherever the bad guy's ship is, and then they just explode.
Yeah.
And that's it. Credits roll, sad version of the opening theme plays, and that's it. That's the movie.
Yeah, then it goes to credits. You don't even get to see like how the rest of the the remaining crew members
dealt with it or anything.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Last thing you see is they're on the medical ship that escaped, and they're like all doing their salute thing, and that's it.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, and like near the end, you do get a few shots of the people of Earth being like, "Yeah, Yamato, go!" But like, you don't get to see Earth rejoice afterward or anything like that. Oh, that ending.
It's powerful. And they're like, we're done.
That's it.
That's it. That's Yamato.
Yeah.
Presumably that's what the creators are doing. They're like,
so.
Oh, they even have a note at the end. The creators of the note. It's like,
thank you.
Thank you for enjoying Yamato. It will always be with us in our hearts. And like,
yeah.
Something, a big thank you to the fans, essentially. Like, for loving the franchise so much. Damn.
I gotta give it a moment of silence, because, the trope of carrying your dead loved one with you to a spot
where you're going to
give then a big heroic like speech about life before you go and like
kill yourself or something.
Yeah, self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
Oh my God, tears me apart. That is like the saddest shit. And you don't see it very often, which is good, because it's not something that
most people can pull off.
Right. Oh.
So anyways, if you liked Yamato, the first one, I would 100% suggest watching this.
If you think you can manage it.
Yeah.
Like, if you think you can handle it. I would say, like, the first 2/3 of it is,
pretty standard fare.
Pretty harmless fun.
But then, like, the final third happens where, like, Yuki gets shot by Dressler, and you're just like,
okay, it gets heavy fast after that.
And then after that, it's just death.
Yeah. I will say, though, that...
You probably didn't need a 2.5 hour mark.
2.5 hours? Okay. Here's my critique of this film. That last third is really pulling a lot of weight. If it didn't have that, this would just kind of be an okay movie. It's a very fitting end to a beloved show like this. It's very long, very self-congratulatory, and indulgent. And that's really great if you're a Yamato fan. But it's not really a great movie by itself. And it's not really as strong of a message or story as the first movie. It's still good, though. It's still good. Like... It's a good movie, but I think you would... And of course, like, this is a sequel movie to a show. Like, of course you'd want to go into it already having some attachment to the characters. Because that's who this movie is for. Just, don't go into it without that. Because it's not going to be a movie
not made
for
you.
you.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Do you have any other thoughts on the film in general before I go over some notes?
Action was good.
Yeah.
Like the movie was made to be a movie, and it works very well with that. Like, the cinematography works. None of the animation was like crazy amazing, but it still was pretty good.
It's on par with good TV animation.
If not slightly better.
Yeah, just slightly.
I would not say it was crazy good, but like, I was never like, oh, that looks bad.
The story does, like, it's a 2.5 hour long movie, and it's so that, like, it can set all this up, but it is very long, and it is kind of weird that they choose to have the gang get back together so that they can, like, defy orders, go all the way out into space for no real good reason.
Because they immediately have to come back to Earth and then defend them at Earth.
Yeah, it's not like the last movie where there's a reason they're going so far away to then come back. Like, they have to go get a thing that's going to go help Earth. But in this one, they just kind of leave because they're like, oh, well, we've got to go head off the comet at the pass.
And then that doesn't work.
And then that doesn't work, so then they have to come back. And it's kind of like, all right, well, then why'd you waste all this time? Because all your commanders were like, no, we'll just deal with it when it gets here. And our main character boy is like, no, we can't wait till it gets here, because what about all the planets that it's going to destroy on its way to get to us? What about, universal peace? And the Earth commanders are like, we only care about Earth. And, like, that's great that our main character stands up for something. But then when they go out in the Yamato, they don't help save any planets. They didn't save any planets at all. If anything, they destroyed another planet trying to get to this comet thing. Because they were like, oh, all these people on this planet are evil, so destroy the whole thing.
Well, I think it was an outpost of the bad guys from the comet on there, because
even still, though, it's a little contradictory to what our hero is setting out to do, and contradictory to what we saw in the last movie as being like the main message to take away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. So that's my biggest like gripe with the film, is that like on a thematic level, it's kind of not really there. But that's okay. It's a film for Yamato fans as like a celebration of what it was and a goodbye. That being said,
okay.
This movie caused such an outcry from fans that a third movie was made. It was a TV film, and it's called, I think, Space Battleship Yamato 2. And it retcons this movie.
Really?
It's, from what I saw of the plot synopsis, it's the same movie, but with a happier ending. As in, people don't die.
Wow.
And then Yamato ended up getting another season, which, apparently as well, most fans consider to be the best season.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a TV movie and then a television show, we're not going to be seeing any of that.
No.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
That is fascinating to know that happened.
So, now I'm really curious if we have any Space Battleship Yamato fans here in the audience, or people who knew people who were fans of the show, or
just have more knowledge on this.
Yeah, more knowledge on this franchise in general. I would love to hear what seeing this film was like, and how, how did you feel? Because, like, this is something that, had this happened nowadays, could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Can you imagine Endgame just being... Was it Endgame or the one before it?
Endgame.
Endgame. Whichever one it was. It's like, Thanos wins and that's it.
Yeah.
Franchise over.
No, not Thanos wins, but...
Like, everybody dies, the good guys kill Thanos, and that's it. Everyone's just dead.
Right. I mean, granted, I think most people... generally, I think people would have been okay-ish with that, because, like, a lot of people are kind of ready for Marvel movies to move on.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's like, that's crazy. That's crazy, Like, and then the fact that then they just did the movie again, but retcon the ending, and then give, like, the show a whole new season. And of course, like, there wasn't the same kind of, like, fan interaction with character, or fans interaction with creators back then as there is now. So, I'm just really curious, what the atmosphere was like, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I love hearing about that. I love hearing people's firsthand experiences of seeing movies that leave an impact like this.
Like an overly upset impact upon an audience.
Right. Well, and then you got to remember that, like, in Japan, this franchise was comparable to Star Wars here
Yeah.
in America. Like, imagine if the second Star Wars movie...
Didn't have a sequel.
Well, yeah, imagine...
People hated the second Star Wars movie.
Right.
Until the third one came out, and then they decided the second one was the best one.
But imagine if it had ended
After
the sequel.
the second one.
Well, imagine if the sequel ended with all the characters dying.
I mean, it kind of did.
And then the third one started with, like, let's just tell the story over again, except they don't die at the end this time. Like, that's nuts.
Like, it kind of did. The bad guys won.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of characters died.
You're right.
And then they got better.
They got better. It's fine. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be it for this review.
Uh-huh.
Quite the movie.
Oh, yeah.
I must say.
Again, if you watched Space Battleship Yamato or you watched the show, I definitely recommend giving this one a look at. Unless you don't think you can handle that ending, because I do not blame you whatsoever if you can't. That shit's sad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, next time...
We're watching one that people have been requesting since the beginning.
Oh my god!
No, seriously. Episode 1, people are like, are you gonna watch this movie? Yes.
It's time for Watership Down.
Ooh. Murder bunnies.
Yep.
Let's go.
Let's go!